Welcome, members, to the meeting. Welcome those members of the public and the press who have joined us this evening by YouTube, where we are hosting a live stream of our proceedings this evening. If you wish to remove the jacket, you may do so. Good evening, members. Before we begin, I need to go over the usual housekeeping rules. There are no fire drills planned for this evening, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and assemble in the Queen's Gardens at the front of the building. Please do not re-enter the building until you're advised to do so. I would like to remind members of protocols around speaking during this meeting. No member should speak until invited to do so by myself. If you wish to speak, please could I ask you to raise your hands high until you've been acknowledged. Please will all members in the room use their microphones whenever they speak, as without them, anyone watching online will not be able to hear you. To use your microphones, please press the button at the front of the centre when invited to speak and wait a moment for the light on your microphone to come on. Please remember to turn off your microphone once you have finished. Members, in the interest of managing the meeting, please do not approach anyone seated at the top of the table or advise without first getting an agreement from myself. Should you wish to do so, please raise your hands high. Please could I ask at the end of the meeting to make sure that you take all your belongings and waste with you. Thank you. We will now commence with business for this evening. We have any apologies for this evening, please.
Councillor sorry, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Sylvia Diamond, Councillor David Allport, and Councillor Mike Stubbs.
Thank you. I've actually got those on here. So let's turn to the agenda. Members, starting with the agenda item 1, apologies from Councillor Simon Jones and Councillor Mike Stubbs. That's fine. And Councillor David Allport, which you all got. The next item on the agenda is item number 2, declarations of any interest. Are there any declarations of any interest from any members or officers in relation to any items of the business contained with this special meeting, please? Agenda item 3, members, is to approve the minutes of the 2 meetings held on the 14th of February 2024. You will find those minutes on pages 5 to 11 and 13 to 19 of your main agenda. And the minutes please be agreed.
You missed that. Great.
Thank you. There is no announcement, so we move on. Members, we now turn to the next item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the appointment of the Chief Executive. Thank you, Gordon, just left the room, so it's actually fine. A copy of the report can be found on pages 21 to 23 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you please now introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It gives me great pleasure to recommend that we appoint Gordon Mole as Newcastle Borough Council's new Chief Executive this evening. Gordon has a wealth of experience both in the public and private sector, and is currently with 5 councils in Scotland, where he's head of business and employability since 2016, which includes services such as economic policy, development, and town centres. Before his move to Scotland, Gordon was head of culture and environment services at Ipswich Borough Council, managing frontline operations. He's also been involved in a number of high-profile projects, while in the private sector and while in the public sector. Gordon was selected by a cross-panel of members of this council, cross-party panel, from a strong field of candidates, and I'm sure will help us to maintain our momentum as we're delivering good services to residents and keep costs down, and also push forward our regeneration of our town centres, and also help us to achieve net zero, and also tackling the Wallace Quarry issue. The recommendations are before us here, and just to point out that recommendation 3 is quite important, and that is to just extend, if necessary, Mr. McKenny's period as interim as Chief Executive, in case that needs to be if Gordon cannot join us due to his other employment commitments at the moment. So with those recommendations, I will move them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Jones, would you like to second the recommendation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you. Members, we will now move to the debate. Would any members wishing to speak please raise their hands? No, that's fine. Councillor Tagg, that's not please. Action fine. Moving on. Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The recommendations have now been moved and seconded, so we move on to the vote on this. All those in favour, please raise your hands high, please. Excellent news. All those against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you. I would now like to invite Gordon to say a few words. Gordon? Before Gordon comes, can we give him a round of applause, please? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members, for that warm reception. I'm absolutely delighted to be formally appointed to the role of Chief Executive of Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council. Firstly, to give continuity of officer leadership where our communities expect action to be taken around their concerns, and I hope to bring some new perspective and insights as we further develop our borough's work on key agendas such as climate adaptation, effective service delivery, income generation, and commercialisation, to name just a few. I very much look forward to engaging with all members and with officers in the coming weeks and months, which I know will pass very quickly before I formally take up my position in the summer. So thank you for your warm welcome, and I look forward to working.
Thank you, Gordon. Another round of applause, please. Members, we now turn to the next substantive item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the elections, scale of fees and charges. A copy of the report and associated papers can be found on pages 25 to 29 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome, Gordon, to the council. This is a standard item which we bring ahead of elections as a part of the process to agree the fees for our election staff, etc. for 24-25. That's attached as Appendix 1. And obviously, it's consistent with the approach taken by other boroughs across the county, particularly and this year because of the police and crime election, which is across the county and city. And obviously, we have to ensure our election staff are remunerated properly and in line with that, and also by government requirements from the departments of levelling up housing and communities. So I'd like to move the recommendation, and obviously refer members to Appendix 1, where there is a list of those fees and charges. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the motion, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. I've got nothing else to add other than to second it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Sweeney. Members, we now move to the debate on this item. Can I ask you to indicate by raising your hand if you wish to speak? Members, the motion, sorry, shall we vote on the motion? Once everybody's spoken, can we put to the vote in place? All those in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. Members, we now turn to the next item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the Wallace Quarry Odour update. A copy of the report can be found on pages 5 to 16 of your supplementary agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As members will be aware, and those watching this meeting, it was announced by officers on yesterday that they've identified a breach in the abatement notice by Wallace Quarry Landfill earlier this year, and that they are preparing legal action against the operator for those breaches. Our officers have notified Wallace Quarry Limited, a subsidiary of Red Industries Limited, that as a site operator, they have failed to properly control emissions from the landfill. Members will recall that the abatement notice, which became enforceable in March 2023, follows a successful legal action brought by the Borough Council, which obliged the operator not to create or allow statutory odour nuisance. This involved the operator acknowledging that this site was a source of community complaints. Since the abatement notice came into effect, our officers have been monitoring the odours in the community near Wallace Quarry, with officers visiting people's homes and taking readings when necessary, day and night. This is the formal process of evidence gathering that our officers have followed, and this has taken time. However, they now believe that the operators failed to properly control emissions, and as a consequence, they are preparing to take legal action. I don't think that the fact that there has been a breach will come as a surprise to the community, particularly those people living around Wally's Quarry, as we've seen an increase in complaints from foul owners, which have reached recently an unacceptable level again. This has been mirrored by the readings from the monitoring equipment around the site. Also, in recent weeks, the EA has finally stepped up and finally showed some teeth as the primary regulator of the landfill by issuing a suspension notice, albeit brief. But I still urge them to issue a closure notice and ensure the landfill is capped off and restored to help bring an end to this blight for our communities. Now, Mr. Mayor, the report before us this evening details the recent actions of our officers in relation to that abatement notice. We were asked to note those actions. As I'm sure your members are aware, we as councillors have no role in this process. Indeed, if we did, and we took, tried to influence any action from our officers, it would leave the operator in a position where they could obviously undermine any legal action we were taking, and we mustn't allow them to have the opportunity to wriggle out of this breach. I would like to thank our team of officers, our legal officers and environmental health officers, and also our outgoing former Chief Executive, Martin Hamilton, who worked in his last 10 days particularly exhaustively on this process, getting us to where we are now, and also to Simon McKenny for taking on the reins after Martin left to get to the stage we are now. Our officers will now need to work up a legal case with King's Counsel advice, and that will take as long as is necessary. I don't believe we should be setting time limits because we want our officers to have the case properly nailed down, and when they put forward legal action, for it to be sound. And I'm sure officers will work to do that as soon as possible. Now, the report outlines that the funding for any legal action. Members will be aware that we did put 300k into the Wally's Reserve Fund in February at the budget setting meeting. The report also states that the officers can draw down another 300k from reserves at the moment, and the Finance Officer has the authority to do that as and when that is needed. Also, as it does state in the report, that any further funds would need a decision from full council at the appropriate time. And that's the right thing to do all along through this process. I've said that when we do make commitments, and our only role again as elected members is to ensure there is funding in place for this, is that we bring that to full council and we all stand together for that funding. We'll know more about what the action our officers intend to take at that point, and then can make a decision to put funding behind it. So, Mr. Mayor, the council will do all it can within its powers to try and alleviate the suffering of those residents that live around the landfill. And our officers will work their damnedest to ensure this is done quickly and done properly. Also in the report, it updates us on the setting up the scrutiny review hearing group, which was agreed at the motion that came to full council at our last meeting in February. The first meeting of this group took place yesterday, and it's now putting together a work programme under the chairmanship of Councillor Beckley Smith, which will be announced soon. So an action there. And if you remember, that was to give residents a view, so their views could be put forward in an open forum, in a hearing process, and also that the EA and other agencies, the Environment Agency and the other agencies, and the operator could be given evidence if they so wished. And also, this group will also hear updates from the council actions on the abatement notice. Now, the effect on our residents through the failure of the EA so far, even though, as I say, they have begun to get some teeth now, has really, made this last longer and longer than it really should have done. We've had the recalibration issues on the monitoring equipment. I think the Environment Agency put out statements today saying they still cannot give us a date on when they will have that recalibrated data, which is a disgrace. And I think it's up to us as a council, through our officers, to stand with our communities on this. And I think the action, which has been announced yesterday, detailed in the report, helps to do that. And of course, many will have seen the statement in response from the operator of Wally's Quarry. I think if people have read that, you can see they're going to come out swinging and fighting on this. So I think it's even more important that we do stand behind our officers here and support them in the action that they take. And that is detailed in the report, and I move the recommendations 1 to 6. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the recommendation, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it gives me great honour to second the recommendation. I'd also like to add my thanks to the outgoing chief exec, who I think has lived and breathed this wretched situation for years now. And I think he deserves great credit. The day he was leaving, his last day here, he was working non-stop on this. I think it's something that we should remember. I think officers have been excellent on this. I've got nothing to add for what the leader said. I agree with every single word he says. And the sooner this thing gets done, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, we will now move to the debate. Would any members wishing to speak raise their hands, please? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that my group will be supporting this tonight. I think it's an absolute shame that we have got to a situation whereby we as a council have to use abatement powers, which are typically designed for things such as noisy or nuisance neighbours, for something that is an absolute blight and disaster upon our borough. And we have to do this quite purely because the regulator responsible for that site has been unable to do their job continually, despite calls from all flavours of party and from all levels of local government and the community. So I would say it gives me pleasure. It doesn't, but I would like to thank all of the officers who have been involved with this, because as the leader of the council rightfully said, this is a decision of officers and they have made a strong decision and one that we have to back them. So we will be backing them tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Adcock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I support what's been said by the previous speakers, and I just want to thank the hard work of the officers, because where other agencies have let us down, for example, the Environment Agency today publishing that they still aren't releasing the historical corrected data, which has been, I think, 6 months in the making. I think the council officers have worked very admirably, going out there, collecting data, speaking to residents. I know how much hard work has gone into preparing the abatement notice process and how much hard work went into getting that secured in the first place. And I know it's frustrating at how long these processes take, but I have full confidence that our officers will work as hard as they can and use all the data they've gathered to get this abatement notice enforced. So I just want to welcome the work that they're doing and the work of this council. And I wish our agencies would step up and do the hard work that's going on here.
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Bennett-Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 2 points. One as a ward councillor and one as chairman of the working group. Firstly, as a ward councillor for Thistlebury, I do very much welcome the issuing of the letter to Wally's Quarry Limited, notifying them of the breach of the abatement notice. This is excellent. It's not the route that I think one would have chosen, because one would have wanted the Environment Agency to have taken action, taken stronger action, which they didn't. So it then falls to the borough. And it's fallen on our hard-working officers, who fortunately have had the ability, the skills and the judgment to come forward with this letter and this proposed way forward, which is excellent, and I totally support it. Moving on to the meeting that we had on the 9th of April, which was obviously last night. It was a very constructive meeting, and I know that we started out at the special meeting in February with a divergence between ourselves and our Labour colleagues as to the method of reaching the summit. It was just 2 different routes, and our route was the one that prevailed. But in the working group, I would like to thank Councillor Jones for his excellent support. He's vice chairman of the group. We had a very harmonious meeting. We unanimously agreed a way forward. We'll be basing the work on the excellent document that was produced by Councillor Fear back in, I think, 2021, and taking it forward, the recommendations we'll look at, and we'll have a call for evidence. We're planning on having our next meeting on the 1st of May. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bennett-Smith. Yes, Councillor Wading, please. Thank you. Yes. You don't to speak. Okay, she didn't. Thank you. Wrong again. Councillor Tagg, would you like to sum up, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for those comments from everybody. I think standing together, as we said, is the right thing to do on this and supporting our officers. I think what we can pledge to do is keep the public updated as much as we can, because I think there are people out there still suffering from this. That have reports. I'm sure other members have of the return of the stink, particularly over weekend periods, which is obviously something that is affecting their lives on a often throughout the day and mainly throughout the night, which is really bad to live through that. So I can pledge that we'll keep people updated, and we'll glad the working group is up and running now, Mr. Mayor. I think it's great that we do have that cross-party leadership of it as well. Look forward to the report coming back through the system of scrutiny cabinet and eventually to full council on that, and hopefully with some recommendations you can take further and escalate as well upwards through the government structure as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The recommendations have been moved and seconded, so we can now move to the vote on this. Are those in favour, please raise your hands. It's unanimous, thank you. Members, we now turn to the next substantial item of business on this evening's agenda, which is the Corporate Enforcement Policy 2024. A copy of the report and associated papers can be found on pages 31 to 55 of your agenda. Councillor Simon Tagg, will you please now introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This really fits in with the previous item we're discussing, because the enforcement policy is the one that officers are following any enforcement case, whether that's one's quarry or whether it's a neighbour issue or anything to do with the enforcement policy in street scene areas. So our current corporate enforcement policy requires updating and regularly is updated to reflect the current regulatory practices for which the council has statutory responsibility. And the updated policy before us this evening has already been through cabinet. It's also been through scrutiny, and it sets out the council's approach to regulation and enforcement across all the service areas except planning. If you remember, we did bring forward a planning enforcement policy. I believe it was probably late last year by Councillor Thea. So that's this covers the other things that we do, ranging from guidance on issues to do with properties, to do with public health and safety and environment, and all the other things. But the policy does have some key new sections. One of those is civil penalties, which is section 4110. And then there's bankruptcy and winding up petition, section 4117, and then mediation, section 4119. As well. So what I think we can say, we've got a policy that is, if you read through it, you can see the steps as required. And if you actually read through it, you can see where we've been mirroring that with cabinet reports on updates from Wallace Quarry, as officers have been taking. And if you look at the Wallace report, we just looked at the actual layout and of the measures that were taken so far on the Wallace mirror what has been in our corporate enforcement policy for many years. So we're following the rule of the book, which is what we should do in every case, whether it's a big one or a small one. And this policy update allows us to do that even more. So I move the recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor Sweeney, would you like to second the motion, please?
Yeah, I would, Mr. Mayor. I think the most interesting part is section 2.2. It says it is recognised that achieving compliance at any cost is not acceptable. However, effective regulation promotes economic growth and prosperity and protects individuals, the community and the environment from harm. And this is what this is all about. And I'm very, very happy to second it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Members, we now move to the debate on this item. Can I ask you to indicate by raising your hand if you wish to speak, please? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will be supporting this tonight. It's a very sensible policy, and we commend cabinet and the officers for drafting it.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Any more speakers, please? Members, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Members, the next item of business on this evening's agenda is the leader's statement. A copy can be found on pages 17 to 19 of your supplementary agenda pack. I'm going to ask Councillor Simon Tagg if he would like to introduce his statement. I will then invite members to put questions to the leader or relevant portfolio holder. I will take each paragraph of the statement in turn, and I will invite up to 3 questions at a time before I ask the leader to respond. If I could remind members, this isn't a debate. Once the leader has responded, there is no right for the members to reply. Councillor Tagg, would you like to introduce your statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy to move the statement and welcome any comments or questions within.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Mayor, apologies. I should have stated this at the start of the meeting, but I would like to declare an interest in that the Keele in Town deal is mentioned, and that I am part paid by Keele University in my salaried full-time occupation, so I won't take part on that matter.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, we note in paragraph 1 that the Cabinet met on the 6th of February and the 19th of March 2024. Do members have any comments or questions on any items for the aforementioned Cabinet meetings that are not covered in the leader's statement? Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond? Any more speakers on paragraph 1, please? It's an excellent night tonight, gosh, heavens. Paragraph 2, Councillor Holland.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, you've done it to yourself in so many ways. Good evening. Let's wake up. Let's have a bit of politics. Why not? Paragraph number 2, excellent paragraph. I'd just like to point out that it was reported recently a lot of levelling up money from its various hose pipes has gone unspent. And how great it is to be an authority here, where not only do we have a government that has given us that money, local MPs who are hardworking to secure that money, but also an administration at this council that is now delivering that levelling up money, both through the Future High Streets Fund, the town deals, 2 town deals, and the Shared Prosperity Grant. This is all fantastic to see. Levelling up is an excellent thing. A little over a week ago, this document was published. Very sadly, in the future, I might have to get used to finding out what government policy is by reading Labour Party policy papers. But this is Power and Partnership, Labour's plan to power up Britain, published as their part of their local elections campaign this year. We don't have any in this borough, but there are lots going on. And of course, we're electing a police commissioner in Staffordshire. A lot of it is very interesting, but the one bit that I would like to draw attention to, because it is a concern the councillors raised before, is that they wish to empower communities, but the mechanism by which they might want to do so is by forcing change in local government. And I'll quote from the paper. The paper says, "We will widen devolution by asking all councils outside of an existing or agreed combined authority to begin preparatory work to join together." And it goes on to say that combined authorities will be given the right to request powers elsewhere. Now, is this, Mr. Mayor, the first draft of Labour's plan, Labour's secret plan to rob this loyal and ancient borough of its identity and independence? I am concerned. I mention it because I worry about levelling up. I want to see us levelled up, powering up, perhaps the same thing, slightly different. Would the leader agree with me that this is a concern? Because I know members of all parties in this place have previously raised concerns about potential loss of our heritage and our independence. And would the leader care to tell us what he might do to reassure us on that?
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Councillor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And everything was going on and rosy. I'll just keep to borough issues. I welcome the fact that the market improvements have gone through planning, with the Vegan Festival, the Castle Artisan Market, Greyhound Gap, the record fairs at the weekend, and the antiques markets during the week. There's a real buzz around the town. On Sundays when the market isn't in operation, it is a lot quieter in the town, but when it is full in, a large number of people do come and visit the town, which is really, really good. So can the portfolio holder update me with developments for the free markets on Monday?
Thank you. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond?
Oh, thank you. So I will pass the role on the market to Councillor Sweeney in a second. Thank you, Mark, for your comments. I think I'll pick on levelling up and delivery that we're showing here in the borough now, gaining momentum. That's what the report is all about there, isn't it? Under two. I think it's really important that we do, continue to do that. And that's our new chief executive said in his introductory speech. So this focus will be on ensuring we spend that government money, which is anyway at 55 million plus across the borough in different areas, and also through the UK shared prosperity funds. That's really important. On the issue to do with, obviously, we're in the election period, so parties need to announce their plans. And I read the document relating to levelling up from the Labour Party nationally, and I have some concerns about that as well. I think it is something which we need to be aware of. I think, as Councillor Hall said, all groups in this council in the past have stated that we want to see, our independence as a borough, as a council tax setting, borough spending the money in the borough. I think it was particularly in the 2018 election, probably again in the 2022 election, and in the county election, the Labour group were putting out that they didn't want to see money spent. Taken out of Newcastle and quoting figures down to Stafford to be spent by Stafford. So when you hear about changes and joining ups county-wide in the Labour proposals, I've got some concerns about that. So what we're going to do about it, I mean, really, I think what we need to do is there's a general election coming up. This is a policy put forward, and I think we also have to look at what the Conservative candidates are offering as well. And I'm prepared to write to all the candidates when known, we know a few of them already, just to ask them to commit to preserving the history and integrity and independence of our borough. I think everybody can get behind that, and hopefully they can as candidates and then fight that if and when they're elected. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll hand over to Mr. Councillor Sweeney for the market issue.
Councillor Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Parker, for your question. Monday has always been the quietest day on the markets. I'm sure everybody's aware. So we made a decision a couple of months ago to make Monday a free market day. Now, the store sort of usage prior to that was an average of four stalls every Monday. Since then, it's probably now near 10. And on one day, in fact, there were 14 new traders new to the borough working and using 25 stalls. They're spreading around because the stalls are free, so I'm not paying for that. The 14 traders as opposed to 4. And there's a definite upward swing on this. So I think it's a good initiative by this council. And I think it's dealing with a problem in a sort of proactive, sensible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Paragraph 2 is about the Newcastle and Kidsborough regeneration update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 2, please? I apologise. Members, paragraph 3 is about the procurement of street scene and MMF vehicles and plans. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 3, please? Councillor White first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to welcome the fact that we are embracing electric technology, first of all, as a council, on our way to our commitment for 2030 carbon neutrality. However, I would also like the council to recognise that there's only 22% of the UK actually generating electricity through solar and wind power. Now, in my day job, I get closely involved with Keele University on sustainability approach, and I'm very aware that they're leading the UK in terms of green hydrogen, which is seen as the next real way forward to really decarbonise. I think we'll be completely carbon free without any generation capability requirements. So my question really is, are we or do we have any intention of liaising with our great local university on this approach? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Plunkett.
Thank you very much. Can I just say I very much welcome this, especially the electric pickups, and I'm sure we're all really eager to move us forward to be even more sustainable. And so my first question to the cabinet member is, although we've just we've got these 6 electric pickups, what's our other vehicle fleet like? Is there any that we still need to replace? Have we got any future plans to go electric vehicles across the street scene area. And also, we've recently taken the grass cutting back under the borough. Where are we at currently with this? When are we hoping the first cut's going to be done? And also, how many cuts a year are we looking at?
Thank you, Councillor Plunkett. Councillor Weirden.
Yeah. Well, following the Britain in Bloom award, it was a bit of a hard act to follow, but we managed to do it. And since the Borough Council took over the highway grass verges cutting contract that my friend refers to, I have personally noticed a vast improvement in the quality of the grass verges in my ward in particular, and also the wards that abut it. So I would like the portfolio holder to pass on my congratulations to the sustainable environment.
Thank you, Councillor Weirden. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Yes, I will. I'll take the first one from Councillor White, and then I'll answer portfolio answer the second two. Thank you, Councillor White, for that question. I think we obviously talk about the solar options, and if you remember, we did have a paper to cabinet about a possible solar farm and an array up in Keele next to the cemetery. We'll be bringing a paper back to cabinet later in the year with an update on that. We've been working with Keele University on that. But it's quite right to say that there are other options. One of them is hydrogen, and our team are liaising with the university on their environment, on their hydrogen prospects for that. And Andrew Bird, who's our officer, is liaising with them through our sustainability team as well. So you're quite right. We have a brilliant university that's on the cutting edge of sustainability, and we're obviously tapping into them for advice on solar farm, but also on hydrogen as well. And obviously anything we can learn from them. They've got a up and running solar array already on, as we know, on the university. But I think, as you say, hydrogen is the next option, and a clean, cheaper fuel without any like the solar you have to generate it, as you say. So we'll certainly we're in the right place, aren't we, with having it in the university to get that information. I'll hand over to Councillor Hutchins for the fleet and the grass cutting issue. Councillor Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since I'd like to thank the Council of Londonderry for our comments. We have been receiving positive comments from many councillors, and I've passed all these positive comments on to the Sustainable Environment team. The roadside verge mowing has been undertaken since mid-March, and it will go through to mid-October. The frequency will be 8 times a year. Any grass cutting falling on footpaths or cycleways will be deposited back in the area that's being cut. Just to mention, all staff are trained in-house by experienced operators. The training includes ride-on mower training, pedestrian mower training, strimmer training, blower training, and tractor training. Plus, there has been some manufacturer training and some legal PA1 and PA6 certification training. A full list of risk assessments and safe systems of work have been done to ensure high standards of health and safety are maintained at all times. Any grass area slopes that are over 19 degrees may be cut on a less regular basis, given the opportunity for biodiversity to flourish, such as invertebrates and patches of wildflowers. 3 words that spring to mind when I look at the highways grass verge cutting since the Borough Council took back control. The 3 words are timeliness, reliability, and quality. I'm really proud of the department and what they've done. To answer the question from Councillor Plunkett, we have 12 vehicles now in the street seat fleet. 50% are electric and 50% use the hydro-treated vegetable oil. The fleet that we have is saves a carbon reduction of 48.67 tonnes per annum, which is a 94% reduction every year ongoing. This is great news for the Borough Council's net zero target by 2030. Hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchins. Anyone speaks on paragraph 3, please? Councillor Foxshirt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a firm believer in praise and criticism where it's due. So I'd like to thank the leader and the senior management team And this is a really welcome paragraph in the report. I think certainly on our side of the group, we had a real aspiration to move forward with the carbon reduction journey and the grass cutting. I know that was shared across the chamber and was reciprocated, and it's really pleasing to see that that's actually been achieved. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fox. Any more speakers on paragraph 3, please? No. Members, paragraph 4 is about the Newcastle Town Deal digital infrastructure project update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 4, please? Councillor White.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'd like to welcome this. It's great to see that it's 50 kilometres of fibre network.
Please speak to the
It's great to see that up to 50 kilometres of fibre network is going to be installed within our town deal region. As the leader and cabinet will know, I represent a rural community, mainly in Beckley, as you do, Mr. Mayor, and it is regularly brought to our attention the frustrations that we have in the rural communities over not being able to get this type of technology. And given that there are more and more of us working from home, it becomes a barrier to that. At both Madeley and Beckley Parish Councils over the last 6 months, I have fielded questions on this topic, which I've put forward through to officers. And it appears that we are at some point not able to progress outside of the town deal because of funding, which I totally understand. But my question really, and ask of the leader in this cabinet, is that whenever there is an opportunity to try and engage with the relevant authorities and the relevant private infrastructure, can you do so on behalf of our rural communities, please?
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Adcock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really welcome that this some of the town deal money is being used to spread this super fast gigabit internet, and that community centres in Silverdale and across the borough are going to benefit. As I see that community centres are getting this free Wi-Fi, and it's going to be in place much quicker than they expected. There's going to be super fast internet. Can I ask the leader, as well as community centres, what other places are likely to benefit from this new infrastructure, and where will it be placed? Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers on paragraph 4, please? Before we move on, Councillor Tack, which has to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor White, again for the question. I think as he pointed out, this covers the town deal area, which is the urban areas of Newcastle. But of course, we know, particularly in our rural areas, there is poor connection, and that's an issue right across the rural areas of Newcastle, across the county. There is a county plan for by 2026 to try and get as many people as possible in the rural area connected. There is funding for that. There's also voucher schemes for communities and parishes to club together. So what I will do is I will make sure that he's in touch with the county officers on this to ensure that he can get mainly Beckley and the other areas up and running on that, so that they can get that fast connection too. Because the money is there. There's quite a lot of money actually in vouchers and that, which can be, each property can apply for a voucher, club together, which pays for the technology that is installed by the broadband provider. And also if in some cases where it's not possible to put in lay the broadband, that can actually use 5G and other methods as well. So we see that particularly in the moorlands area at the moment, it's a big programme of signing up the rural areas there. So we need to, I think, get Newcastle rural areas up the list as well. So we can do that with your help. Councillor White, that'd be great. Thank you, Councillor Adcock, for your comments. I think it's really great that those areas within the urban area, particularly based around community centres, which will be the hubs for this, which will allow that sort of access and faster access to be then webbed out from there into the communities. I think also we'll also be able to use other council-owned facilities. Also use county libraries as well, where there's one of those, and also public realm material such as CCTV poles, or also the county council looking into using some of their lamppost network as well, to be able to make sure that people are close to a connection. And of course, what we have now is the providers, because this isn't the council's providing this, is the private sector providing this, and through the town deal we're actually putting some money in so it can happen sooner than it would in the rest of Staffordshire. So I think that's again showing that levelling up funding which Councillor Holland was talking about. We're getting this before us in other areas by using the town deal money to get those hubs. So a range of facilities can be used for this, and I think it will really help people to get that faster connection instead of being in the snail lane when it comes to broadband. And also, I think I was going to say, if you do look now, when you look at your broadband, particularly BT, they have a free Wi-Fi version of that, which is done by EE. What they're doing when they replace all their boxes, they're putting Wi-Fi into that, so that you then have that as a backup, but also is available for the whole community. And if you do sign up to that, you can then have that Wi-Fi access for everybody who's signed up. So I think it's, we're moving to the next phase now with 5G, the rollout of the gigabit. And we must go back to Councillor White's question and request to make sure that we do get our rural areas up the list for that, and we can do, and use that government money that's already there. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Any more questions on paragraph 4, please? No. We're moving on. Members, paragraph 5 is about electric vehicle charging points for Castle Car Park. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 5, please? No, gosh, members, paragraph 6 is about the tree and biodiversity management plan. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 6, please? Councillor Adcock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the pleasure yesterday of going to visit the Lyme Forest in Silverdale, where we planted the 850 trees as part of our anniversary last year. And it was great to see just how many of them have really started to grow really fast and starting to produce leaves. And I thought it was a really good sight to see. And that will really become a useful carbon capture area in the future. Now, of course, with any tree planting scheme, there's always a certain percentage that don't reach maturity due to weather conditions and just natural decay or sometimes, unfortunately, vandalism. So could I ask the portfolio holder about the new plan? Will officers be monitoring the survival rates, and will any trees that don't survive be replaced?
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Gorton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope I can speak in the spirit of sort of harmony that we've got this evening. First of all, I wanted to begin by expressing my appreciation as a ward councillor and a resident for the tree planting which has recently taken place across the Marsh and Woolstanton. It's clear that this planting has been done with considerable thought and care, and I think it reflects extremely well on the Borough Council. I think many of us were very pleased to see the publication of the Tree Biodiversity Management Plan, and I think it's good to have a plan that explains how the authority will look after the trees we plant, and also sets out the actions that need to be taken to ensure that more of the trees we plant can survive and flourish. And like the previous speaker, I think members should be a bit concerned by the admission on page 7 of the plan that something like 25% of the tree stock usually does not survive after planting. Now, I know the authority consults on planting schemes, but does the leader of the council not agree that there is scope for involving residents to a greater extent in the delivery of the plan, possibly by encouraging residents to help with the annual tree inspections, which are an important feature of the plan? I agree that I think that these inspections could play a key part in ensuring that many more trees we plant actually mature, but I suspect that council may struggle to fulfil this commitment, and working with residents may help us to deliver a plan which I think is sound and impressive.
Thank you, Councillor Gorton. Councillor Rees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I really welcome the tree biodiversity management plan, but just a quick question around whether we've got sufficient staff and in relation to potential increases in costs, fuel, equipment, materials, are the available money sufficient to sustainably manage the tree works operations going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Rees. Councillor Tagg would like to respond, please.
Yes, I will respond, particularly Councillor Gorton, but I'll also bring in the portfolio holder on some of the other detail as well. I think, thank you for the positive comments across the board, actually, about this. It's really good to have this policy in place. I think on that 25%, that is a national figure, so it's not just Newcastle Borough Council that's losing 25% of trees through that it's planted. It's actually a national thing. If you remember, I think it was not long after we had a bit of a drought period. It wasn't last summer because it rained. It must have been the summer before. There was a headline, I remember, in the Daily Mail on the Sunday Mail, like 2.5 million trees councils let die because of drought. And I think what we got to, and it says in the actual plan, it's quite clear that then, as Councillor Adcock has pointed out, there are certain circumstances where trees will not survive. I think the key point is, as we go back and we replant them, there's always going to be issues with vandalism, very few and far between actually, but we must always go back and replace them, and we will do, and there's funding within the plan to do that. I think overall the funding, if you look at the tree and biodiversity management plan, there is a staffing and also a financing arrangement around that. I think that will ramp up over the years because the more trees you plant. But just think about, Sandy Lane green space. We have to cut the grass a lot less because the planting that's gone on there. So you have, you have changes through the grass cutting that will then free up not only resources but also manpower to look after the trees. And we have to ensure, from probably year 15 onwards, the trees do then need to be maintained more than they do when they're first planted. So we've got a plan, and that's all detailed in there. And I think I'll hand over to the portfolio holder who will answer more of the detailed question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, the new trees that we plant, the survival risk, I would say, is between 10 and 25% of new tree developments may not survive to maturity due to multiple factors such as adverse weather and climate, water and nutrient stress, accidental damage, and intentional damage, otherwise known as being vandalized. So it's between 10 and 25 is what we say now. I guess one solution is let's plant 10% more than we need, and then we might kind of even out. So that's maybe something that we could look to bring in the future. A comprehensive service review into how the council manages its tree stock was undertaken in 2018, and 30,000 additional expenditure per annum was identified to be incorporated into the council's arboricultural work programme to effectively and sustainably manage the tree work operations. This included procurement of third-party contractors to support the council's own resources in inspections and management of the council's tree stock. The tree and biodiversity management plan, it does include a risk and a progress tracker which measures and records issues that we can constantly look at. The Borough Council has implemented a new software management system called EasyTree to identify and manage the council's current and future tree stock of approximately 112,000 trees. And finally, I can confirm any new tree that does not take or does not make it will be replaced where we can during the October to March tree planting season. Yeah. Another comment from Councillor Goshen. It's not something that I've considered before, but I will bring it up at the Sustainable Environment Steering Group, and we'll see how we could possibly look at this and maybe move forward and try and involving more residents. And I'll reply back to Councillor Goshen when I've got some more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers on paragraph 6, please? Yeah. Members, paragraph 7 is about Sport England swimming pool support grant to Kids Grove CIO. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 7, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say how pleased I am that the Sport England have given this money to the sports centre. I live in Kids Grove and I use the sports centre, and it's coming up to 2 years now since it was reopened, and it should never have been closed in the first place. It was a great tragedy, and I just want to thank, on behalf of the people of Kids Grove, everyone that was involved in reopening it. It's brilliant. It has a fantastic timetable in the swimming pool and the sports centre activities, and I would urge anyone to pay to visit. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Member as well, just I think it's excellent as well. This is almost £250,000 for to install solar panels in the combined heating power unit. But can the leader tell us how well the JT is doing and how's membership doing since the pandemic?
Thank you, Councillor Tack. Would you like to respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'll hand over to Councillor Chris, who will have the exact figures for the J2. But I think just generally, I think we've always seen here with the reports from Kids Grove, and I hope he's got them actually, sure he has, is the really good news about Kids Grove getting this money via Sporting England. We then, as the council body, passported through. I think one of the main things that's been a problem for all sports centres and actually for residents and businesses is the cost of energy over the last couple of years. And if they can get those solar panels on the roof, that will cut down on their energy requirements. As for J2, brilliant facility, isn't it? And they're coming into its own. I'll hand over to Councillor Chris now, I'm sure can tell us what the membership figures are for J2.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Councillor?
Sorry, Skelly is great. Long enough, sure we like that.
He does.
Right, I'd like to first of all commend the comments from Councillor Jill Waring about Kids Grove Sports Centre. Don't want to take too much away from that with gloating about the performance of Jubilee too, but it's a well-run centre, Kids Grove is. I think the membership's now over 1,500 at Kids Grove. They're well on target with all of the projected forecasts from when the project was started as well. But back to the original question of J2, the membership now stands at 4,025 members, full membership. Now this goes back, bearing in mind pre-COVID, the membership was only 2,900, so we've achieved over a massive increase in membership there. And during COVID, which this is what we've actually recovered from, the membership went down to only 600. So we are now sitting at 4,025 members. The online booking system's gone live, so this helps increase membership at the applications as well. They've got a J2 app, a kiosk in the foyer, and the kiosk and the J2 app during February 11 have helped us achieve 5,400 bookings just at Jubilee 2 as well. The child swim classes as well. I think we've got 15 or 16 schools that are now involved with teaching their children to swim at the centre. And also, don't forget, a lot of this money from the health and equalities from Sport England goes towards Jubilee 2 as well, for the health and wellbeing centre. And the software for referral is now going to go into a live stage within the next couple of months, whereas doctors, GPs, nurses can refer people to the wellbeing centre. So all of this can convert into more members going into full membership. So like I say, we currently stand from 600 during COVID, 2,900 pre-COVID, and we now stand at 4,025. So I think it's commendable to everyone involved at the centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone speaks on paragraph 7, please? Moving on. Members, paragraph 8 about the Museum Wins Awards. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 8, please? Councillor Panther.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Brampton Museum was the centre point of our 850th charter year celebrations. There were 44,000 visitors to our 850th theme events. It was also the focal point of the medieval day, which I particularly enjoyed. Can I say how much I'm looking forward to visiting the Brampton Museum in my very forthcoming mayoral year, and also attend as many of the talks that I can, given there, especially the ones given by Councillor Andy Fear.
Thank you, Councillor Panther. Councillor Fox-Hewitt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to place on record my gratitude to the staff and the volunteers at the Brampton Museum. As a parent of young children who share my interest in history, we've really enjoyed many of the events that have been put on. The team, I think, have demonstrated not only a passion but an innovation really in some of the exhibitions and indeed the talks that they've put on over the last 12 months. And I'd like to ask the leader to write to the team at the museum on behalf of members to thank them for their work and dedication. And I'd also ask that it be explored if we could show our recognition as members and the council by some small reward for the staff and volunteers to show our appreciation in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to echo the comment that Councillor Fox-Hewitt had just made, and we totally agree there. The museum has always been like the jewel in the crown of Newcastle, and it's a beautiful building and a beautiful setting with fantastic staff. And to win this award, Small Visitor Attraction of the Year for the whole of Staffordshire, is just absolutely brilliant, and it's very, very well deserved. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Councillor Mary. Councillor Tack, would you like to respond, please? Thank you. Yes, thank you for all those comments. And of course, I will pass them on to the team and make sure that they get the recognition. Of course, they're in the national awards now, which is the next challenge for them. So best of luck with that. I think, as has been pointed out by Councillor Panter, the use during the 850 year, which is carrying on. I just looked before this meeting at their diary going forward for the speakers and the meetings at the museum, and there's that many coming up. One, of course, is Councillor Andy Thiem, who's giving a talk on Rome and Newcastle. He doesn't like swimming, but I've heard them before, so really go and go and see that and book your tickets, which you can do online, which is a really good function to be able to book your tickets online there as well. So I think take on board what Councillor Foxley said about rewarding the team and recognition. I'll take that away to talk to officers about that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Again, I'd like to echo all the comments that have been made. As the shadow portfolio holder for leisure, heritage and culture, I never cease to be amazed at the range of activities and courses that go on at the Bramptons. Anything from learning a new language to visible mending, which I'm going to be doing on Friday. I also want to say that at times they're a victim of their own success because, for instance, I wanted to go to the suffragist tour, but it's completely booked out. So it just shows how popular these events are. And just to say that all the staff there are so friendly and helpful, and particularly I'd like to give credit to Elise Turner, who really has curated such a wonderful array and diversity of events there, and just to thank them very much.
Thank you. Councillor Gorton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's really, I think, pleasing to have a leader statement that highlights the successes at the Brampton. I think the reference to the increase in visitors numbers is something that should be celebrated. Several members have already referred to the programme that is coming up, which I think builds on the success of last year's 850th celebrations. But there's just one aspect really of the Brampton's work that I'd like to highlight to members, because I think it really does deserve recognition. And for years, the Brampton Museum has worked with local schools, but at the moment there's an exhibition at the Brampton through the Frame exhibition, which is being curated by students from Mavis School. And it's a really good example, I think, of partnership. During the first week and a bit of the exhibition, something like 3,000 people actually went and had a look at the artwork on show. And the artwork on show is leading examples from contemporary artists. Very, very impressive indeed. And of course, you know, let's face it, the success of the Brampton is taking place at a time when funding for the arts and heritage is under threat. And unfortunately, many council-run museums and galleries have been obliged to reduce their opening hours and cut back on their work. So it is really a great credit to the Brampton and to the Borough that this work has been able to continue. And I think in these hard times, Mr. Mayor, it's important to recognise examples of success and achievement by museums and galleries. And this section of the leader's statement reminds Council of the contribution I think the Brampton makes to the civic life of the Borough.
Thank you, Councillor Gorton. Councillor Holt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think even I can make this political. Warmest congratulations to the staff and volunteers that sustain the Museum of Brampton. It's often described as a hidden gem, but it shouldn't be hidden. It is a gem. And I will close my comments by saying that our newly appointed Chief Executive, if he has not already availed himself of the opportunity of going around the museum, he should, because it is an indispensable education in the history of the borough, if not world history and heritage and culture. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So there's been no Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They also do really excellent cake. I wasn't really going to say anything on this, but it would be remiss of me not to, given Councillor Gordon's comments as a proud parent of one of the young curators. I think when we look at this and when I reflected on this, my daughter Fiona, who was one of these young curators, she's been interested in art from a very young age. There's not much in terms of communities typically to foster art or to be able to help develop that. There's a lot for football, there's a lot for computer gaming, there's very little for arts. And I would like to see anywhere else in the country where, as a secondary school pupil, you could be handling artwork by David Hockey. I think that just really is a real jewel in the crown. And it's something that's giving to future generation of kids in Newcastle. So I really do commend this.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Tagg.
Thank you. I mean, amazing comments there. I don't really have much other than just to say, I think when over many years, whoever's run this council, the museum has been kept as that jewel in the crown. I think it is in a park that's the jewel in the crown when it comes to parks as well. We do have a lot of competition because we've got some very nice parks in the borough. But I think, as has been pointed out, I think my council got the school trips are really so amazing to see the little kids going around. And what gets me down though is that the exhibitions I see now, the ancient technology and ancient toys, and the stuff that we used to play with when we were kids, that we're actually ancient ourselves now. And the technology, mobile phones, these are basically mobile phones. And now that's what the kids really like to see in the museum. It's amazing. But anyway, so yeah, so really good. I think, as you say, Councillor Jones, sort of a really good asset for the borough. And I think we got accreditation, didn't we? The extra accreditation for the museum, which has allowed it to up its game on getting these exhibitions in from across the country. And I think, we continue to want the museum to grow. Got a brilliant team there, members that you mentioned and singled out for praise. I echo that. And hopefully as the future continues to grow, and as the jewel in the crown of our borough, for as other areas has been said, are having to cut back on that, we must always try and protect it. And the team there do bring in income, and that extra shop and cafe, the extension of the shop and the cafe range that really brought an income stream in for them as well.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. And more speakers on paragraph 8, please.
Right, so thank you. Just one other thing, really. I like to echo all of the comments that have been made tonight. I actually attended the award ceremony with the Councillor Jill Waring, where they received 4 of the awards, including the gold one that they're now in the national level award for the small visitors attraction. And the level of competition there was very high. The standard was very good, and to achieve something like that in our borough, I think we should be proud to have a site like this. Now, moving on from that, the business model behind this is absolutely incredible. They really work well at what they're doing. They've got a full schedule of exhibitions. They're hiring out 2 meeting rooms there, and they've got a lot of bookings for the meeting rooms, and it's just a really well run exhibition centre museum. Even the cafes flourishing. One thing I did want to pick up on slightly is the 62% increase in visitors. It actually equates to over 96,000 people who visited the museum this year. So I'd like to congratulate you on that as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Skelding. I'm going to give a round of applause for the museum. Members, paragraph 9 is about the forward plan. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 9, please? Yeah. Members, that concludes the leader's statement. We will now move to the next item of business. Members, the next item of business is the reports of the chairs of scrutiny committees. This is agenda item 10. Which is at page 21 of your supplementary agenda. Reports are attached for the Health, Wellbeing and Environmental Scrutiny Committee and the Economical and Place Scrutiny Committee. A verbal update will be given for the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Mark Holland, would you give your update, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The committee met on Thursday, 14th of March, when it considered update reports on the commercial strategy, the town deals and future high streets fund projects. This was the last meeting of the committee during the current municipal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. These reports are here for information and noting. Please can the reports be received, please? Thank you. Members, the next substantive item of business is the reports of the chairs of the regulated committees. This is agenda item 11. The report can be found on pages 23 of your supplementary agenda. A written report is attached to the Licensing and Public Protection Committee. The Audit and Standards Committee has not met since the last meeting of the full council. A verbal update will be given for the Planning Committee. Councillor Paul Northcott, would you give your update, please?
Good evening and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, since the last full council meeting, the committee has met twice. The first meeting was the 27th of February. There was one major substantive item, and that concerned the application for outline permission for up to 150 houses in Augustin Wood Lane. That drew considerable public interest, and we had a packed gallery to address on the evening. There was over nearly 2 hours of debate from councillors and members of the committee that debated every single facet of this application. The resulting resolution was this was refused. The other items on the agenda that evening included 7 Victoria Street, which was deferred for further details and viability assessment. The other items included ones that members may be interested in because it involves the Newcastle Borough Council, and that was the Borough Council depot at Nottingham Lane to alter the elevation to the middle section of the store. This was approved. And also the item 7 on the agenda that evening, the temporary transfer of storage and excavated materials on land south of the A52 on Liverpool Road. Both of these were approved. The last item was a standing item that's been on the planning committee's agenda for the last probably 7 years nearly now, I'm guessing, for those who can remember that far back. And that included an update on box cottages, and this was agreed to be kept on the agenda and the report received that evening. The second meeting included the 26th of March meeting of the Planning Committee, and so the first substantive item was major development on Seabridge Community Education Centre for 55 homes. This was a reserve matter application. And also included the rerun of Victoria Street, 7 Victoria Street, Newcastle application, which had been previously deferred. The one that members may be interested in, the item 6 on the agenda that evening, was the application for minor developments regarding the open market high street in Newcastle, which Councillor Parker referred to earlier this evening, and included things like the landscaping, and also the creation of new public realm, resurfacing and installation of new street furniture. This item was debated considerably, and the item was approved. The last item on that council meeting agenda was a rolling issue again. This was the Dodden School Betley. The committee agreed to keep on future agendas on a bi-monthly basis, and the report was received. There was no further business. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Northcott. These reports are here for information and noting. Please can the reports be received, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Members, the next agenda is item 12, members' questions. I have received no questions for the leader and cabinet members this evening, so therefore we move to the next item. Members, agenda item 13 is our next item to receive petitions from members. They have not been made anywhere to be handed in this evening. And members, items, sorry, I do apologise, items, agenda item 14 and 15 relate to urgent business and confidential business. I have no urgent or confidential business that needs to be considering this evening, and therefore concludes the business for this meeting, and I therefore declare the meeting closed. Thank you. Before we actually finish, I'll just actually say, just to actually celebrate, this coffee and biscuits are available outside to celebrate Gordon and his new position today. You are more than welcome. Thank you.
All rise, please.